I was getting stuff out of the backseat of my car, and suddenly he was there, and he had a paintball gun, and he was and like he was going to shoot at me. And I kept asking him what he was doing because I could tell it was a paintball thing.
Okay.
And then he just kept doing it, so I yelled for my husband, and then he took off running around the back of my house.
Okay, and what is your name, ma'am?
My name is Tammy Daybell.
That was an attempt on the life of Tammy Daybell. She didn't realize it at the time. She didn't realize it. Something happened with the gun. But I believe that was Alex Cox attempting to shoot and kill Tammy Daybell right in front of her house. She survived another 10 days, and then she died. Prosecutors say it was murder. Chad Daybell, her husband, he says it was some form of natural causes, or you really can't tell what happened to her. But it definitely wasn't murder. Definitely wasn't murder. There's Chad Daybell. That was back in 2020. Chad and Tammy married for like 28 years. This was a long marriage. They raised 5 kids together. And he's accused of murdering her, taking her life so he could be with the blonde hair, blue-eyed Lori Daybell, so he could bring in the end of times and the second coming with his second wife. Well, today was another big day inside that courtroom where you had cousins, Tammy's cousins, testifying. Let's take a listen.
Just in context of what Chad may have said in that conversation, can you explain to the jury what you first remember him saying about anything?
He said that Tammy had been sick that day. He said that she had been vomiting and coughing, and then around 10 p.m., she had vomited again and then came to his office and said that she was feeling a little bit better. And he said that she was going to bed and that he stayed in his office working. And then around 1 a.m., he went upstairs and found Tammy on the floor. And he said that she had rolled out of the bed and was on the floor, and that he found her cold and already passed. I noticed that he seemed calmer than I would have expected. And that he would get emotional only when my dad would get emotional, and then would stop, like once my dad stopped crying. When I was talking to Chad with my father, he said that Tammy had gone down to say that she had thrown up and was feeling a little better and then was going to bed.
So Tammy was upstairs in her bedroom, and then she went downstairs to go into an office to talk to Chad. Is that what you understood?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that this is a one-story home, ma'am?
No, I've never been to their home.
Okay.
We were 7 months apart, and we pretty much were like sisters. We went to high school together. We were best friends.
I want to draw your attention back to October 19th of 2019. Did you learn of Tammy's passing that day?
Yes, I did.
How did you learn of it?
My mom called me on the phone, and she was crying hysterically and told me Tammy passed. And it didn't register who she said, because it didn't make sense that my cousin Tammy had passed. So I said, who passed, Mom? And she said, Tammy, and I still didn't make sense. And I said, who are you saying? And she said, Phyllis, my Aunt Phyllis called and told me that Tammy passed.
Why was that confusing to you?
Just didn't make any sense.
Why not?
She was so young and healthy.
Was there anything about his talk or speak at the funeral service that caused you concern or stuck out to you?
Yeah, there was a couple things that he said that I just thought weren't very nice. The first thing he said was that she wasn't easy to live with. He said that she was lazy. He said that she had depression, which she did, but to say it out in front of the whole congregation, I thought was, I guess, embarrassing for her. I just didn't think they were very nice.
And joining us tonight from Boise, Idaho, where all this is happening, Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Krapf is with us. Kelly, great to see you. I'm outside here. You're outside there. Let's talk about Alex Cox, who was apparently outside the site or near the site of where Tylee's remains were found.
Well, hey there, Vinny. Listening to this testimony today from the FBI agent on the stand, he does cell phone analysis. I really was wishing we could hear from Alex Cox, because a lot of times, obviously, in these investigations, you can take someone that might be a person of interest, take their statements, and then you can verify them when you go back and look at cell phone data or Google searches. Well, here, the FBI agent on the stand today was talking about the Google searches, the cell phone data of Alex Cox, but obviously we cannot verify those with any statements that Alex Cox made because he is deceased. So what the FBI agent on the stand was emphasizing is that we're talking about devices, not a person. So Alex Cox's device located on Chad Daybell's property, just south of his property, right around where the remains of Tylee were found. And this is September 9th. So September 8th, the last known sighting of Tylee in Yellowstone. And then September 9th, Alex Cox's phone pinging at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, all these various times. Then also some exchanges between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, and also a conversation between Alex Cox and Chad Daybell. Let's listen to some of the FBI agent's testimony from today.
So at 9:21 and 36 seconds, we see a Google location history reported or data line that shows a margin of error of 6 meters, very close in proximity to the area where Tylee was found. And then we see at 9:22 and 50 seconds, a location over here that is a 3-meter margin of error. And then we see 2 additional at 10:39 and 10:57. The 10:39 has a 43-meter margin of error, which is that larger yellow circle. And then 10:57, we have a 5-meter margin of error, again, in the area where Tylee's body was found.
And while this testimony was taking place, you could tell the jurors were really interested in what the FBI agent had to say. They were looking at their monitors, tracking the yellow dots and the particular areas that the FBI agent was pointing out on the stand. And it just seemed today, more so than any day so far, that if any of those jurors had any doubt of Chad Daybell's involvement with this situation, this cell phone data really does look suspicious and may just tip the scales here.
Absolutely compelling evidence. Kelly, let me ask you, Chad Daybell himself, my understanding, a little bit of a reaction, some sort of expression from him inside the courtroom today?
A little bit, Vinny. Usually he's pretty stoic, comes into the courtroom, pours himself a glass of water. This morning he was surfing on the internet, not certain what he was looking for. But while Tammy Daybell's cousins were on the stand, we did notice that he was smiling and kind of smirking, shaking his head in disagreement. Let's listen to some of that testimony today.
Around 10 p.m., she had vomited again and then came to his office and said that she was feeling a little bit better. And he said that she was going to bed and that he stayed in his office working. And then around 1 a.m., he went upstairs and found Tammy on the floor. And he said that she had rolled out of the bed and was on the floor, and that he found her cold and already passed.
And Vinny, so we were showing you Chad's reaction as well as the testimony. You could see he was definitely more energetic and watching and more interested in this testimony than he has been in other people's testimony. We'll send it back to you, Vinny.
Absolutely. Kelly Krapf in Boise tonight. Thanks so much, Kelly. When we come back, we'll bring in Lori Daybell's uncle, Rex Connor, for his reaction to what happened today.
There was pounding on the door. Bang, bang, bang.
He said that we'd seen his face and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
I survived because I'm a born fighter.
I Survived. Next on Court TV.
There's no way, Morgan, I can ever come up with this.
We are underway in the trial of doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty.
It's the doomsday prophet Chad Daybell on trial.
When you attended the service, did you happen to hear Chad speak?
I did.
Was there anything about his talk or speak at the funeral service that caused you concern or stuck out to you?
Yeah, there was a couple things that he said that I just thought weren't very nice.
What were those things?
He said that the first thing he said was that she wasn't easy to live with. He said that she was lazy. He said that she had depression.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, right? In that moment. Welcome back, folks. We're live in Dedham, but big news today in the Doomsday Prophet trial. Let me bring in our special guest, Lori Daybell's uncle, Rex Connor, has a great podcast, Tylee and JJ's Silver Linings podcast, does it with his nephew, Adam Cox, also authors of the book, Lori's Lies and Family Ties. Rex, first reaction to the testimony today, FBI agent testifying about your other nephew, Alex Cox, being near Tylee's remains, and seems to be a lot of communication amongst the three of them. It looks like he was there when these remains were being discarded and buried in that pet cemetery.
Discarded is a good word, Vinny. Just frighteningly so. But my reaction today, I appreciate so much how the prosecution is laying this out for the jury. I always try to imagine what the jury must be going through. First of all, I love those people and appreciate them so much. They're thrust into this overwhelmingly difficult situation, trying to understand all of this. And as you know, Vinny, there's no short version to the story, and them trying to piece together all of this evidence and the story and the personalities involved. So I think it was excellent the way the prosecution has been going step by step, using the cell phone data and the witnesses they called and how they explained it, the questions they asked. I'm just very appreciative also of the prosecution, the way they're handling the case.
And it's really a combination, the way they're doing it, right? So you've got like the science of it, the technology of the cell phone data and plotting all that out. Jurors can understand that because we all have phones, and we know they're constantly communicating with websites and other things. So they're locating people that way. But then also from Tammy's cousins to come in there and explain and humanize Tammy and have their reaction to Chad's bizarre behavior. You're hitting people from the jury from both ends with some facts, some hard facts, and then people giving their impressions, which a jury can also relate to.
That is so important, I believe. I got to speak with a couple of the jurors from Lori's trial this last weekend. Kay and Larry Woodcock held a beautiful memorial service for Tylee and JJ. Tom Evans, who you've had on your show, and another juror were there, and I was asking them how difficult it is to piece this together. And from that, I got the impression getting the human side of Tammy, or reminding us about these humans that are involved in this case, especially after a lot of detail, as you pointed out, Vinny. Tammy is
it's so
human.
important. Absolutely. Rex, we're out of time for tonight. I hate cutting you off, but we ran out of time. Rex Connor, thank you so much. We'll speak again.